So imagine spending an entire 1 year of your life painting this masterpiece, only for the world to call it disgusting and ban it from every art gallery in the country. So this is the Gross Clinic, painted by Thomas Eakins. Today it's worth $68 million. But in 1875, it was basically the most cancelled piece of art in history. Now most people will tell you it was banned because of the blood, but the real reason behind it is way darker than you think, and it involves a secret the medical world doesn't want you to know. Let's talk about why this painting was too real for the 19th century. So imagine 1875. Surgery back then was basically a coin flip. Doctors back then didn't use gloves or masks. You could guess your surgery was basically 50-50. Thomas Eakins wanted to capture that, but he didn't want a petty painting. He wanted the truth. So he goes to a real operating theater in Philly, that's Philadelphia for short, in case you didn't catch that, and paints Dr. Samuel Gross performing bone surgery. Now look at this. Dr. Gross is covered in blood. His assistants are literally digging into a man's thigh, and in the corner there's a woman cringing in horror. This wasn't just art. Back then, critics saw it as a visual assault, which is actually not surprising because if you think about it, it's 1875, and critics back then didn't really like the whole grotesque painting that we don't love today. But here's where it gets weird. The official reason it was banned from the art gallery was because it was too gory, right? But if that was true, then why did they allow other war paintings which had way more blood than the Gross Clinic? Because it wasn't the blood, it was the tools. See, Eakins painted the surgeons using these new high-tech metal instruments, and at the time there was a massive war between the old school doctors and the new school surgeons. By painting this, Eakins was basically taking a side. He was basically saying science is the new big thing. And to the elite art critics in the 1870s, they're going to say that was blasphemy. They didn't want to paint the doctors in a bad light as mechanical or brutal. They wanted the public to see them as heroes. But Eakins made them look like butchers. They might be asking, Somto, if it was banned, how did it become worth $68 million? We're getting to that, but first, let me ask you this question. If you saw this painting in an art gallery today, what would be your reaction? Let me know in the comments, I would love to hear it. Now back to the story. Ban didn't just hide the painting, it destroyed Eakins' reputation, like really wrecked his reputation, so much that he was fired from the Pennsylvania Academy. He literally tried to erase Eakins from history. Then he spent the rest of his life as an outcast because he refused to soften the edges. He once said, and I quote, "I don't paint for critics, I paint for the people who actually live." Now that's a boy. But the people weren't allowed to see it. They moved the painting to a medical ward, which is basically a basement, and only doctors could see it. But hey, that's not all for Eakins, because fast forward 100 years later in 2006, the city of Philadelphia had to raise $68 million just to keep the painting from being sold to a private collector. The very city that banned him ended up paying a huge fortune just to keep the painting. Talk about irony. So what's the moral of the story? The things society tries to ban are usually the things that tell the most truths. Okay, that's all for today. If you have any other painting you want me to talk about, please leave it in the comments, like and subscribe. I'll see you later. Bye.